I couldn't stay away. I am back on Whoop. I spent 2 months post half Ironman without tracking my daily strain, my calories and whatnot. And I feel like I regressed. I'm someone that needs to kind of gamify any sort of aspect that I'm in. I'm in this realm of living where there's just continuous improvement in all facets, whether it's intellectual, whether it's social, whether it's my personal health. And when it comes to my personal health, the only way I measure progress is advancements in my daily strain, my caloric expenditure, and just feeling overall healthier. I need data. I'm so data driven because I critique myself probably more in, again, every facet of my life, more than probably the average person. And again, that's why I'm on Whoop. When I started this channel, what I wanted to do was explore quote unquote state of the art in anything. I'm sure you've heard the phrase before, state of the art, or, in the United States, when the president comes on TV, he talks about the state of the union, the current state of how things are. The state of the art in the innovation aspect is what is the cream of the crop of every aspect. And when I started this channel originally, looking more on the fitness and technology side, that's what I was looking for. And it's very subjective when it comes to what your overall goals are. And as I looked through every single wearable of any aspect of life, it didn't have to be a 24/7 fitness tracker. It just needed to serve the purposes of understanding whether or not you are a healthy individual. I mean, even on this wrist, you can see that I'm wearing the Apple Watch Ultra 2, completely spent out of pocket, just so I have some empathy and understanding and knowing what products do what and how I would utilize certain products. And it just comes down to, no matter what sort of watch, what sort of wearable I've ever worn, including like the Oura Ring, which I do find a close second to the Whoop, I just keep coming back to it. And this is 100% independent opinion. I am affiliated, but I've stated in a previous video that I was no longer putting that in my title, just so I could be completely objective and unbiased in my presentation of the facts. And I'll show you right here, just to prove it. This is my email, receipt from Whoop, paying for another 12 months reactivation. Again, I was affiliated. I don't know if I have the worst affiliation with Whoop in the history of affiliations, but when I'm using a product, it 100% comes out of pocket. And I want that to be completely transparent, that my opinion is independent of any sort of incentive that I'm given. But let's talk about more about why. Why do I have to keep coming back to this? And I don't like when I'm presenting facts on my channel to just be purely my anecdotal advice. I like to reach for different resources that have kind of been there, done that. And 10 million copies sold, multiple languages, Atomic Habits. When you're forming a habit and you want to measure progress and you want to stay accountable, you need an accountability partner. And in Atomic Habits, if you haven't read it, when you're establishing a new habit, I'll scroll to the front. There's 4 laws. First one being make it obvious. Second being make it attractive. Third, make it easy. And in the 4th law, make it satisfying. There's one important bullet point in the chapter summary that states, an accountability partner can create an immediate cost to inaction. We care deeply about what others think of us. We do not want others to have a lesser opinion of us. Now, I do a lot of self-evaluation, so it's not so much that I have an actual physical person thinking less of me, but more of an evaluation of my own progress and looking at something that is really passive, opening up my phone, seeing what my current daily strain is, seeing what my overall history is, trend lines, I find incredibly important. And yes, there are other devices that do that, but none that is more passive, in my opinion, in its form factor and its usage than the Whoop. Talking about the Oura Ring, if you go on my channel and you see the reviews of the Oura Ring, fantastic device. The one big issue for me was, in fact, that it was a ring, and I do a lot of barbell lifts, dumbbell lifts, and it even tells you within the warnings of the device that you shouldn't wear it. You should use some sort of accessory device like an Apple Watch that can then be hooked up to Apple Health and then transmit the data to the Oura Ring Health app so that you get no gaps in your actual usage, especially when it comes to the most important aspect when you're evaluating any sort of exercise, the actual exercise. The other important aspect that I still love with this watch is the activity tracking that is purely passive, and it recognizes activity without me having to click my Apple Watch and hit it. Now, I do love the display of the Apple Watch. I tend to wear more traditional watches. I love my Omega Speedmaster, for example. So when I'm wearing that, I don't get that 24/7 tracking. And also with sleep, even with the bigger battery life, putting it on low battery mode, it still has a lot of issues. And it's just an entirely big pain in the ass to constantly have to keep charging when I'm using it for my day to day. And no matter what. So I found in different elements of my training, whether it would be like a mixed martial arts to CrossFit to endurance training with the Ironman, that there's different tools for the job. Like I like one over the other. Day to day, more passive, kind of rearing back. I do enjoy the Apple Watch. I think it does a lot of great things. I love the display, especially on the Apple Watch Ultra 2. This display with everything, with the weather, with the temperature, with my activity is completely fantastic to look at. On top of it, while I'm working, I can look down, see alerts, go back to work. And I just love it for kind of just general use. With the endurance training, it could not replace the Garmin 955 for me. And I wore that during my half Ironman. Battery life, no issues there. And it's just a fantastic device. But when it comes to, if you're doing like mixed martial arts or CrossFit, something this big or any sort of watch kind of gets in the way, especially if you try to put hand wraps or anything else around your wrists. And the versatility of the Whoop, it just sounds like an ad. But if you think independently and just make a good product, then then through grassroots, you have individuals like myself talking about a product on your behalf. And that's when you just have a great product. I've also said on this channel that I just have zero loyalty, because what am I getting from a company? Like, all I do as a consumer is work and think of return on my time. You can't have any more time. So if I'm working and I'm getting income, then taking that income to buy products, it's got to be the best product that I think is out there. And that's just Whoop. I've tried going off. I've tried my different exploration of different devices, and I just keep coming back. And every time I have that kind of thought, I think it's important to share, because if you're like me and you're trying to do research and understand the effectiveness of a product, is it quote unquote worth it? A very biased and subjective question. This is kind of the opinion that I'm always seeking. So that's why I always share it. So back on the Whoop train, I find that my overall health continues to improve when I'm doing that. Also have mentioned in my experience with the Ironman training. And by the way, I've enrolled in a program at University of Texas for machine learning and artificial intelligence, which is taking up my time in lieu of pursuing a full Ironman. That's besides the point. But in that video, I did talk about that. I had to go on exogenous hormone therapy because my testosterone was completely destroyed from doing more endurance training. My body just can't handle maintaining muscle mass on top of increasing endurance and feeding my body and all of the different physical stresses that were put on my body. And I kind of lost track of that in my progress back towards my optimal health without having a device like Whoop. So for me, that's just purely my opinion. Of course, I'm not even going to put a link and say that I'm, any more supported. That's one thing I said. If I can just give as best of an objective opinion of a product as possible, that's my goal, and that's what I want to aim at. So thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next one.